Representative Henderson. Representative Larson. Representative Sherwood. Representative Stith.
Here.
Representative Walters. Representative Swanitzer.
Here.
Chairman Nicholas.
An item for this evening on House Bill 276. We tabled it this morning. Did a little reworking of the bill. So what we have in front of us now is a proposed standing committee amendment. Representative Stiff, you want to walk us through this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. What this does, it creates the exception for persons who are collecting shed antlers on behalf of a nonprofit organization or who are under 15 years old. They would not have to get a conservation stand.
And it also goes to nonprofits,
Yes.
right? Do you have a chance to get a hold of our friends of the Game and Fish?
I have, and we have a friendly amendment on their behalf here. If you look at page 2, line 22, we go from during the period beginning 6 a.m. on May 1 and ending on June 30th. We did this to not sustain too much of an impact on their officers in the field.
Okay. Okay, any questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We've already worked it, so you want to move the amendment?
Yes, I move the amendment number 1 to House Bill 276.
Seconded by Representative Henderson. Discussion on the amendment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, that motion carries. Any additional amendments? Roll call on the bill.
Representative Henderson.
Aye.
Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood. Representative Stith.
Aye.
Representative Walters. Representative Swanitzer.
Aye.
Chairman Nicholas.
Aye. Okay, next we've got two re-referrals that we in front of us. Let's start with 116.
Big one.
Okay.
I asked the bosses and they could.
So Representative Walters, you want to tell us what this bill is?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are we on 88? Is that correct?
116.
116, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Is that the one that we have the amendment on?
It is, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not a sponsor of this bill, but I will do my best to explain it. This bill prohibits foreign ownership of land in Wyoming and it defines on page 2 what a foreign business is. It defines who a foreign government is on line 16 and below on page 2. Then on page 3, it defines a foreign person. On page 3, lines 12 through 14, it defines the land they're referring to. And then in subsection B on line 16, it says that no foreign government, foreign business, foreign person or agent, trustee or fiduciary shall purchase or otherwise acquire land in Wyoming except for personal residence not to exceed 1 acre. And then it goes on to say a foreign government that does own that land shall, as of July 1st, 2023, shall divest that land within 2 years following that July 1st, 2023. And then it discusses in subsection C how the Secretary of State will be involved in making sure they know who owns land in the state of Wyoming. Then if you go on to subsection D, bottom of page 4, top of page 5, it's a civil penalty of $5,000 a day for every day you're in violation of this act. Subsection E, the clerk will report to the Secretary of State. Secretary of State will report in subsection F to the Attorney General, anyone breaking this law. And then moving on to page 6, it discusses it's a new section, and this is in the 3913-103, how the counties will create a schedule to obtain the information and then provide that information to the Secretary of State. Again, on page 7 now, 3913-107 is compliance of that. And then on page 8, it discusses how property will be divested as well as a split or a effective date of effective immediately. And then there's a standing committee amendment authorizing 5 million from the general fund to the counties for administering this grant, or grants to the counties for administering this act, is the summary of the bill.
Any public comments on the re-referral? Well, all we can talk about is the money, okay?
Well, I'm hopefully gonna give you the reason for expending some. Mr. Chairman, Bill Winnie, Sublette County. With regard to foreign ownership of, or foreign property ownership in Wyoming, I'd like to give you a slightly different perspective, and I spoke to this in front of the committee, the other committee. In the world of intelligence, one of the things you do is just plop down next to somebody and soak up what you can, observe electromagnetic or whatever. And so as you consider this, there is a national level interest in going forward with what's in the bill because of the potential for Chinese or other companies' involvement. You know, they get a piece of land, they can put things on it, they can observe whatever. One of the notes I would put out is the security police on base.
So I'm going to interrupt you. All we can talk about is the money in the bill.
Okay, enough said.
Okay.
I think that's not a bad reason for going forward with the expenditure, subject to your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? We will close public comment. Are there any amendments? Any amendments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to propose an amendment. I may have been circulated to the group, but if not,
It has not.
what this does, it deletes the standing committee amendment of the 5 million, and then it reinserts it just because it makes it cleaner by doing that process. And then we insert another section of expenditure in section 4 of $100 million from the LSRA to the auditor's office. And the funds from the account shall only be appropriated to provide for funding for monetary judgments rendered against the state of Wyoming in a court of competent jurisdiction in an action which arose as a result of the state or political subdivision of the state enforcing the provisions in this act. And it will not be used for any other purpose. But really, this is, if an entity is forced to sell their property, it's a forced sale. And that's essentially a taking, it would be my argument. And so this is to compensate them for an action of a taking.
And so Jackie will supply you with the written amendment. So does
You didn't
everyone
get that written
understand?
down, Jackie?
Does everyone understand the amendment? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Is there an amendment on the date on the back, the 7/1/25 enactment?
Mr. Chairman,
Please go ahead.
on page 8, section 5, I would change the effective date from effective immediate to effective July 1st of 2025.
Is there a second? Moving to second in discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. As amended, any other discussion on the bill?
Question on the bill?
As amended. Roll call.
Representative Henderson. Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood. Representative Stith.
Aye.
Representative Walters.
Aye.
Representative Swanitzer. Chairman Nicholas.
No. Okay, next, House Bill 88, Representative Walters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 88 is very similar to the House Bill 116 that we just discussed. It defines what agriculture land means on page 2. It defines foreign governments on page 3. It defines foreign persons on page 3. On page 4, it states that no foreign government or foreign business shall own these kind of agricultural properties. And then on page 5, it continues to discuss that in a civil penalty on subsection D. And then subsection E, the clerk is to report to the Secretary of State. And then we move on to page 6, and it's the same language from the previous bill for 3913-103 on the schedule of reporting. And again, on page 8, that same language that we discussed in the previous bill, Mr. Chairman. So it's very similar. The one difference is this bill does not require the disposition of or divestment of property if it is currently owned. It does have a standing committee amendment that comes in and deletes foreign persons and cleans that language up a little bit. It also has in that standing committee amendment the same $5,000, or excuse me, 5 million for grants to the counties for the purposes of administering this act.
Okay, public comment on the bill. Welcome, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We prepared a memo on the implementation costs on that bill. And we determined that there are no implementation costs on our side. And in our opinion, this appropriation is not necessary. And our comments would extend to the previous bill as well.
Okay, we appreciate that. Any questions? Reference to
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. Just have a question. It seems that this bill would require the Secretary of State to be able to identify if a foreign entity, foreign company has purchased land. So my question is do you intend to do that? So for example, if there's a limited liability company and you don't know who the beneficial owner is, they buy land, that LLC buys land. What's the process for figuring out whether this is beneficially owned by a foreign government or a foreign person?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My recollection is that it had an element, at least this is on the previous one, it was basically a self-reporting mechanism. And that's why from our end, it really, the cost is just amplifying a module that already exists. And I think that's somewhat where the confusion on these bills is lying. I mean, this is just opinion, but I understand the clerk's testimony on this, but the way they're currently worded, it really is more of a self-reporting. Now, you add in that language that amplifies that research element, okay. But in terms of a policy perspective, I'd probably support that language. I mean, it's just, but the way it's currently worded, I'm a little perplexed the direction these appropriations have taken, but it's the way I'm interpreting it. And, our memos, which were written before I entered office, took the same approach in reading these.
I appreciate your comments. Any other public comments? We will close for public comment. Representative Larson, there is a motion on this bill.
Well, Mr. Chairman, maybe a precursor before the motion. Bill, so before I went down at lunch to notify the sponsors of this bill and the sponsor of the last bill. And as I approached Representative Banks and told him that he'd be up for this afternoon, he said that his intent is to just let that bill lay back and move it, as he had talked with Representative Crago and others, that he would like to see this be an interim topic. And so I told him that we could do that two ways, lay that back here or take it to the floor. And he didn't seem, take it to the floor and let the majority floor leader just keep it down and not hear it. He was okay with either one. I just went to try and find him and the other sponsor of the other bill, and they had already taken off for the night. So, Mr. Chairman, with that said, I think I would make the motion of do not pass. And then, with the conversation that we had last night, I think that this really has some validity and warrants an interim topic.
Further discussion? Roll call, do not pass.
Representative Henderson. Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood. Representative Stith.
Aye.
Representative Walters. Representative Swanitzer.
Aye.
Chairman Nicholas.
Okay, next, we have that state capitol murals. This is House Bill 264 that we tabled yesterday. And you should have a copy of a substitute bill in front of you.
Yeah, that's what that is.
So remember, these are the amendments that we discussed and worked out yesterday that we had typed up. And the amendments are pretty simple. It goes from mural to murals. And it basically increases the amount to $750,000 because we would more likely be more than one mural. And it modifies the selection team. So it will be 3 members from the Senate, 3 members from the House, who are on the selection team, and then we'll from the Cultural Resource Division and the Parks and Rec Division will be members of the board or of this committee. That's basically then, and it lays out the criteria of how the mural, the artist of the mural is bid and how it is selected, for the motif. And one of those will include the mining motif, because there's room for 2 murals in the House, 2 murals in the Senate. So it will evaluate all 3 of those and make recommendations, all 4 of them, make recommendations on how to proceed and do a cost analysis, and then subject to the amounts of dollars appropriated, can then put it out for bid for the respective artists for it. And I gave this to Conrad, Representative Conrad. He is copacetic. He actually thinks it makes it a better bill. So any questions? I can see you're ready to ask a question, Dave.
No, I have a question. So, Mr. Chairman, we have it that they'll report back to our committee on or before December 1st. Does that work with our schedule? Or I know that
It does, because it's before appropriations starts to meet.
okay, so we meet in October or something, they'll have an opportunity to have all this done, you believe?
Right.
That was my question. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Any motions? Move the substitute bill.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that the substitute bill is the new bill. I would
Okay.
amend that to be the new bill, I think, is proper language.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries. All those in favor of the new bill. Roll call on this. Yeah.
Representative Henderson. Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood. Representative Stiff.
Aye.
Representative Walters. Representative Swanitzer.
Aye.
Chairman Nicholas.
Aye. Okay, that clears the deck for tonight. So we're gonna, yeah, can you go offline?